The Jerusalem Gift Shop, 10% off everything. Coupon code ILTV.
Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's morning briefing.
According to Palestinian health officials, 4 Palestinians, including a 16-year-old, were killed over the weekend in clashes with Israeli troops along the Gaza border. The teen, identified as 16-year-old Mohammed Al-Jaju, was said to have been shot in the neck. The IDF said that around 8,000 Palestinians gathered around the border fence on Friday, burning tires and throwing rocks and incendiary devices at soldiers, though, which did not reach the troops. But the army said that soldiers opened fire in accordance with operational procedures anyhow. Terror factions in Gaza have since hinted at a possible response to the deaths. Meanwhile, in related news, a recent poll conducted by the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research found a significant increase in Hamas's popularity in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. According to the poll, if presidential elections were held today between Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and PA President Mahmoud Abbas, Haniyeh would win with 49% of the vote. This poll also comes in the wake of renewed Hamas-Fatah rivalries, as Abbas lashes out at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday, accusing him of providing Hamas with the money to fund attacks against Israelis and leaving Palestinians in the West Bank to pay the price. Abbas was referring to Israel allowing millions of dollars in Qatari funding to enter Gaza as part of the unofficial truce between Israel and Hamas. And he said that the funds were used by Hamas in the recent terror wave against Israelis in Judea and Samaria. Additionally, Abbas threatened to implement a court ruling to dissolve the Palestinian Legislative Council, a largely defunct parliament, which is controlled by Hamas. While the move is mostly symbolic, Hamas officials said that it would destroy the Palestinian political system and warned against the move. The two political factions have been at odds since 2007, though, when Hamas violently seized control over Gaza. All efforts at reconciliation between the two factions since then have failed. Finally, also coming out of the Strip, the Hamas-affiliated television station Al-Aqsa TV has announced that it is permanently going off air due to lack of funding. The station, which Israel has accused of serving Hamas's military, was destroyed last month during the flare-up of violence between Israel and the Gaza terror group. As Operation Northern Shield continues on, the Israeli Defense Forces over the weekend began sealing and destroying the first 4 HEZBOLLAH attack tunnels that have been discovered entering Israel from Lebanon. But in order to both destroy the tunnels and make them impossible to reuse from both sides of the border, a complicated multi-step process must be used. Details on these, quote, special measures, as Prime Minister Netanyahu called them, are scarce, but the IDF has indicated both that they will be sealing the tunnels in an unknown process and will not be using an explosion. That being said, residents on both ends of the tunnel were still given notice to avoid being in the area at the time of their neutralization. The IDF's Arabic spokesperson's Twitter also read, quote, HEZBOLLAH built terror tunnels under Kfar Kila and Ramia that infiltrate into Israeli territory, making the area a barrel of explosives. We are determined to neutralize these tunnels, and we do not know what the outcomes of these actions will be on the relevant buildings on the Lebanese side, end quote. UNIFIL has also been kept abreast of the situation, as Israel and the United Nations organization have both acknowledged that these tunnels are in violation of Security Council Resolution 1701, or the ceasefire along the Blue Line in the Galilee. Israeli officials thus insist that the UN peacekeepers in Lebanon also work to destroy the tunnels on the Lebanese side of the border, where Israel cannot. Judging from the Security Council's refusal last week to condemn the tunnels, however, it seems unlikely that UNIFIL will act. In shocking news, Israel's second death to measles in 15 years has now been reported. The yet unidentified 82-year-old woman in Jerusalem was admitted in early December, but her condition only worsened until Wednesday the 19th when she passed. The first death was an 18-month-old girl who passed on November 1st, also in Jerusalem. In fact, of the roughly 2,700 people who've contracted the disease this year in Israel alone, over half live in Jerusalem, primarily in Orthodox neighborhoods where vaccines have seldom been used. The Israeli Health Ministry is thus desperately trying to persuade people to vaccinate themselves and their children to stop the spread of the disease and others like it. Measles vaccinations have been found to be 97% effective when administered properly, meaning fewer people who get sick and fewer people who can pass it on in the first place, which protects others who cannot get vaccinated, like people with compromised immune systems. This concept is referred to as herd immunity. On the other hand, unvaccinated people in high-risk areas are 90% likely to contract the disease. Similarly, though vaccinations are not required by law, the health ministry recommends that everyone in Israel receive a vaccine for tetanus, chickenpox, hepatitis A and B, and more, as well as the flu vaccine every winter. All of the vaccinations are offered through the Kupot Cholim, or Israeli HMOs, and most are provided free of charge.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.